The challenge for me is putting something within the large context window.
And now you'll see here, it's like, now I'm going to draft it in a cold email in Canvas.
Their overall strategy of having all of their components integrated.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is 12/12/24, and you're listening, watching the Daily AI Show live. And today we're going to be talking to you all about how to use some of these new Canvas features that were just announced a couple of days ago as the 12 days of OpenAI has been going on. But specifically, we're going to teach you or show you and teach you. It's going to be kind of a demo day today about how to use and make Canvas work for you in these custom GPTs. Now, a lot of what we'll show today can also be used outside of custom GPT, so it's either way. But hopefully, this will inspire some ideas for you along the way. Now, just something to let you guys know: two things going on right now. Number one, if this is the first time you've ever seen us and you just got interested about Canvas and custom GPTs, hey, welcome. We're the Daily AI Show. There's 7 of us total. You'll usually see 4 or 5 of us on any given day. We do this every single weekday. We have not missed one in well over a year now. We're into like episode 354. So we've been doing this a bit. And you can find us, like I said, every weekday live, just like you are right now if you're watching us live. Otherwise, it's at 10 a.m. Eastern. You can catch the replays. Second thing that happens to be going on right now is that we are also doing our live reactions to the 12 days of OpenAI. So every day at about 1 p.m. Eastern, they're coming on weekdays. That is, they're coming on. Sometimes it's Sam Altman, sometimes it's other folks at OpenAI, and they're doing some sort of announcement. Yesterday was a little bit on the lighter side of things that we kind of already knew about, but then other days have been about, well, Canvas and Sora and O1 out of preview mode. And so there's been some big ones in there. And we will be doing that today. We'll be doing that tomorrow. And then for the 5 days, Monday through Friday next week, next Friday should be day 12 of 12. And will we see, will they leave the best for last? Will we see GPT-5 or something crazy on next week? Will we see an update to DALL-E? That's something I'm looking forward to. We don't know, but you'll get our live reactions with that. And finally, just want to let you know, you can always go to the website, thedailyishow.com. You can track and watch all the episodes that we've done in the past. But you could also sign up for the newsletter. And that's a really, really great way to keep the conversation going beyond these live shows that we do. There's just more than we can fit, frankly. And sometimes we have deeper conversations that go beyond when we hit end live recording. And, we'd like to get those in. It's our way of sharing what's going on sometimes behind the scenes and the other conversations we, the DOS crew, are having outside of that. So that's all the stuff going on. Just want to make you aware of that because we do have a lot of new subscribers, followers coming off of the 12 days of OpenAI. We want to make sure you know who we are and what you can get from us. Okay, like I said, today, first of all, we have Beth, Jimmy, and I'm Brian. So today, I know I have a few demos that I want to show you. A little bit of panic mode, as you might have seen that ChatGPT went down, and not just down a little bit, went down hard yesterday for several hours. I think the timestamp on the email I got that said everything was fixed was 1 a.m. Eastern. So it was down for a bit. And then I said this in the Slack channel that it's, when you say, oh, like, who's really using AI? Has it really reached adoption level? Are people using it daily? Yeah, wait for OpenAI to go down or ChatGPT to go down, and then watch quickly how Claude hits total maximum server limits, and you can't use it either. And I would imagine if I'd gone to Meta or Gemini, I might have seen similar things on the free paid accounts. I literally couldn't use Claude on the free side because clearly ChatGPT was down and people just shifted. So it's an interesting thing, right? Like, are people using AI daily? Yes, because you can see the ripple effects when the largest player on the, on the field, ChatGPT, goes down for several hours, and it took down Sora, APIs. I mean, it went down. So we're back up. I was able to create some GPTs this morning, so we are ready to go. Before we do that, Beth, Jimmy, you got anything to add as far as like your thoughts on Canvas? And obviously, I can share my screens here as well.
I think Canvas is amazing. I'm super excited about it. And I was just excited to be able to like add a document that I could interact with and not have to, like, the challenge for me is putting something within the large context window that I can work on into little pieces because the large context window doesn't make the output context window larger. So it's still like needing to piece together a bunch of things. And I'm really excited about what Canvas can do. And when you start talking about the custom GPT thing, though, it's like, oh, damn, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
Like, this is awesome.
Yep. It was definitely on my wish list. I think I even said it on our wish list show before we got into the 12 days. And so I was really happy to see it. It seemed like such an obvious thing. Like we weren't asking for some net new technology that nobody had seen before. It's like we had custom GPTs, we had Canvas, and we just want to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You know, we got the peanut butter, we got the jelly. I just need somebody to go, you know what would be great if you smack this between two slices of bread, you know? And like, that's what I feel like we got. There is actually some additional things. We'll talk about the Python side of it, and that is net new. We didn't have that before, so that's super excited. What about you, Jimmy?
Well, I like that this is one step closer to their what seems to be their overall strategy of having all of their components integrated. So much to like Google's success with Google Workspace and things like that is having all of the features all interconnected. So not having to leave the platform for some other feature. And I always like that because I wanna just go to one place, do everything that I need to, and then get the eventual output that I'm looking for. What I'm really hopeful for coming out of Canvas with the integration of custom GPT is I can live more in the custom GPT because that's the go-to when I want to look for some sort of repeatable process thing, right? So like we say, it's like, oh, are you going to do this more than 3 times? Oh, okay, well, make a custom GPT or make an automation of some sort.
Yeah.
And so that was the first thing when they announced Canvas and custom GPT is like, well, they announced Sora. So I need a custom GPT to help me build Sora prompts. And now I can output it into Canvas and make edits. And on the flip side, add copy paste feature on the back end. Just saying, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. OpenAI. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, there's some easy ones in there that are like some easy wins to do it. I think you're right about custom GPTs. I think people just need to see them more. They are getting more powerful. So on the one point you made, this is exciting to see from me as a prompt engineer, for lack of a better term. I mean, I'm a consultant, right? We all build, but I do write a lot. I do create a lot of custom GPTs. I have no idea how many I've made at this point between real deployed ones and just for funsies like I kind of did today. Although one of them is kind of one I kind of want to make better. I got excited about it when I did it. By the way, I'll share all three of the ones. For anybody listening, anybody watching in the YouTube comments, I'll share these. I'll also put them in the newsletter later on. So if you want to go play with these, I'll make them all open to everybody. I'm totally fine with that if you want to play with them. But one thing I wanted to say, Jimmy, is like,
In fact, making them available in the newsletter would be an awesome, awesome idea.
that's true. I will be and use them on YouTube. You have to sign up for the newsletter to get the shareable links.
Exclusive content.
One will be available, but we'll see.
When I share the tab, I believe it doesn't leave the URL in there. So like, we'll see if that's true, because if you could see the URL, you technically could screen share and just grab it. We'll see. We'll see if I'm able to block that. And yes, it will be in the newsletter. Good point, Beth. My point to that was really quick, by the way, welcome to Carl, who just joined us. My point to Jimmy really quick before we dive into this is that gets me excited that they did this, because it gives me hope that they intend to keep developing and making ChatGPTs or custom GPTs better. We saw what happened with plugins. I think it was the right thing, by the way. They got bloated or whatever. And so there was this, I think Carl and I were talking about, or maybe on the show, and this idea of like, as they move into these agents thing, are custom GPTs going to go by the wayside, or are they the path towards agents? And I still don't know the answer to that, but this is at least, this gives me hope that they're like, no, this is something we're still spending time making better, whether it was an easy fix for them and they thought, why not? Or perhaps the engineers put more into it. But I was encouraged to see this for sure. And the other thing I'll just say is like, I really want people to think of custom GPTs as these tools, man. Like when you get up in the morning, at some point you walk into a closet or to a closet of some sort, depending on your house or your situation, and you say, what am I going to wear today? And that's highly dependent on the weather and what's going on. I'm not going to wear this hoodie if I have a major meeting with a major client. I mean, I'm not going to wear a hoodie if it's 95 degrees outside. There's choices that need to be made. And so you have clothes that fit the needs of what you're doing. And you have custom GPTs that fit different needs at different times during your workday. It's probably not that you're going to use all of them every single day, but as you'll see today, there might be one that you use once a week. And if you're going to do it once a week and it's going to be repeatable, just create a custom GPT and get that off your plate. Especially if you can lean on the expertise of an LLM while you're doing it. I mean, it really depends, so that's what I want to show today. I have 3 different examples, and I'll go ahead and bring those up on the screen now. And we're just going to walk through these examples first. Then after I show you how they work on the front end, then we will turn around and look on the back end into some of the prompting to show how they were done. And it's non-magic. It's pretty easy to do, but for anybody who's interested in learning how to do this with custom GPTs, I will certainly show you how to do that. So Beth, I'm going to share, give me one sec here. Heads up before you share a screen. Yep, I understand. Thank you. What's the name of Talk Studio? What are we in? Twitch? Are we in Twitch, Jimmy? What do we do?
Tangentially connected. It's Streamlabs Talk Studio. Yeah.
Okay, this is nope, that's not the one I want. Give me one second.
Bet this is when you throw up the classic technical difficulties. Please, bye.
Or no, I'm so sorry, guys. It's like I have
Here we go.
and know a lot of guys that
Subscribe.
it up. I have a few open, I'm not gonna lie, and I don't wait, that's it. I think this is it. This is it. Oh no, it's not it.
Yeah, don't show it yet.
Okay, great. Talks amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. Like the old SNL sites. Let me just find it really quick because it's in an Explorer or whatever the hell they call this now for Microsoft, and I just it's not showing me the screen. So just give me one sec.
So while Brian's bringing that up, Carl, what is the latest news coming out of the AI field?
The latest news? I don't have any breaking news this time.
No breaking news today?
No breaking news today. I think all the breaking news was kind of yesterday. That was just really neat to have that they just broke it exactly at that time that we were all.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Right.
Okay.
So
There we go.
in the chat, we were talking about OpenAI committing to the needing to cut Google out of the headlines. So going down really did take out the air from their sails.
Just turn it off and on again, and
There we go.
get all the attention you need. All right.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. So it was sharing the other window, and I was clicking around trying to find the right tab, but you can't find the right tab in Chrome if it's not in Chrome. No. And I F11'd it to get the URL out of it as well. So that way we can preserve our newsletter reveal. So we are all good to go. Thank you for the delay there. Sorry about the delay there. Okay, so this is one example, and we'll move through these fairly quickly. I have some cut and paste that I can put in to kind of move these along. This is one example of how you might use Canvas in a custom GPT. This is a sales example. So it's an email writer. Now, don't come at me on those are poor emails. That's not why I created this. I didn't go down that route and create, the best emails ever. I did it to show how this would integrate with Canvas. So I always like to have a ready to start or something that prompts the user to get going. So we'll just hit that really quick.
So that's the button. I'm ready to start.
Yep,
Yeah.
I'm ready to start it. And it's like, do you already have some specific details? So in this particular case, what we're going to do is we're going to upload this file that has some names.
So we did not see a change in the state of I'm ready to start. I'm still looking at an empty submission screen. And if you're a longtime fan of the Daily AI Show, you know that our live demos sometimes have gremlins, but it's worth it.
Well, that's interesting. So give me one more second and we'll try this one more time. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's like the inverse tech demo rule or something.
Right,
like that.
right.
If you have a live demo, it inevitably
Try that then.
go.
Because it should stem. That's blue. Don't know what happened the first time. All right, we're gonna do this really quick. We're gonna move along. So this is prospect details. That's all it is a fake. It's a fake document. It has names, people, company names, right? So that would be like, hey, I have some of these people that I want to reach out to an email, and then I'm giving that to it. The only thing it has in the back end, you'll see it has a knowledge document. I use Asana. That's a tool for project management, and I use that on the back end as the company that I work for as the user. Okay, so we'll just hit enter to that. And it pulls any information and it's analyzing it really quickly. And it's probably going to tell me like, this is an idea of what I found. Maybe. I was gonna say, it should not take that long. There's like 10 rows in there. Let me know if you can proceed with Sarah. Yeah, we're going to start with Sarah. She's my first person. Let's start with Sarah. Okay. So right now we're just in a basic chat back and forth. There's nothing really new or different about that. So it's asking me like, what do I want to do with my email to Sarah? Like, what am I trying to do? And I'm going to just say one, which is scheduling a meeting to discuss how Asana can help stream her legacy. But it gives me some other options of what type of email I might want to send out. And I hit one and it's like, great, let's do that. And now you'll see here, it's like, now I'm going to draft it in a cold email in Canvas. Boom. So now it's opening up Canvas on the right-hand side. And it's giving me, because there's some new stuff here. And so what I love about this quick example is just simply saying that we don't need Canvas at the beginning. We had a file that went uploaded. We had some decisions that needed to be made by the user, what kind of email. That would actually get confusing to have it an inline editor on the right side of the screen. But when does it make the most sense to have the inline editor? Well, that would be when I actually have an email to edit. So now this is when it makes sense. Now this is when I want the Google Doc experience. And so what I can do now is we still have the custom GPT running on the left side, but we can also make inline edits on the right-hand side. It's actually asking me to feel free to suggest some edits to share your thoughts on here. Like, what do I think about the subject line? What do I think about the opening, and so on and so forth? And, right at this point, I can say it all, well, no, we'll make an edit on it. I think the subject could be stronger. And then when I do that, it's going to go ahead and make an update to the subject line on the right-hand side of the screen, or at least it should. Little slow with the share, man. But there you go. It went and updated and made a difference on the right-hand side of the screen. And now we can keep going. The custom GPT still exists, right? So looks good. Let's continue. And what I'm saying basically there is like, hey, I know there's more that this custom GPT does for me. There's more tasks at hand. So if I'm good, it'll just keep what's going on the right-hand side of the screen. And it's like, great, the draft is shaping up well. Here's what we can do next. And I'm like, yeah, let's do number one. One sounds good. And which is some A/B variation testing on it. And now you're going to see it update again on the canvas. So this is one example of how you can use it. And we'll show you here in a second how to get it to kick in Canvas at the time you want it to on there. So now we have some subject line variations and so on and so forth. It's running some more subject lines in there. And there we go. Okay, so there's example number one. And we're getting some updates here on the left-hand side saying what happened. And of course, at any time, I could also just come straight to this subject line. I don't have to do it on the left. I could just do inline editing. I could change it myself and just quite literally replace it, delete and replace. That's nice. But I can also just go right here and say, make it stronger, right? That's the same as writing it on the left-hand side, but it's just giving me the option to do it directly in the thing. And it's going to highlight it and then it's going to fix it. So easy, right? Okay. Let's back out of that one. Nope. Wrong screen. Wrong. All right. This is the second one. This is a ChatGPT, our custom GPT I called It's To-Doable. And so what I wanted to demo in this one is that you can create a custom GPT to make you a smart to-do list. You don't have to just do the old school, like this is my to-do list on a, notebook or a scratch piece of paper or whatever. You have the power of the LLMs behind you. Have it help you work through your day, especially when you mess up. And I'll show you some examples here. So for this one, wrong screen. There we go. For this one, it's going to do the same thing. I'm ready to begin. Great. Let's start. So right now it's like, what's on your mind today? What do you want to do? they have pressing deadlines. It's asking me questions about what's on my to-do list for today or this week or whatever. Now, I will point out, you could go into voice mode here and just speak your to-do list. Let's see. I want to work on this. I have that. Oh, wait, no, that's not really that important. I want to work on this over. That's totally fine. And then you would just come back out of voice mode to keep this going and it'll work just fine. For us, though, we're going to use, if I can find it,
So this is just really
So just a reminder, everyone. Yeah, you don't have too many tabs.
Then I knew this was going to be a challenge for today. I'm just trying to pull up the, I just need that because I don't want to have to write the whole thing. Here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I would say, although I probably could have. Okay. So this is all the stuff I have going on, right? Made up stuff. And it's like, got it. There's a great list to start with. And then what it does is it organizes it based on what it thinks my high, medium, and low priorities are. And it's like, okay, are you ready to go with this? And I was like, I could say, yeah, that looks good. I think you got that right. And so it's like, okay, look, based on what you just told me, this is what I think your high, medium, and low priorities are. And then it's got some suggested total points for gamification. I'm like, yep, this looks great. Let's do this. Let's create this to-do list. But again, we had some conversations back and forth first, then we're going to create the to-do list.
right.
We don't want to create the to-do list right off the bat. And boom, here we go right here. We have a cool to-do list. So now, like, prepare for the daily show. That's happening like right now, right? So I should be prepared for this with all my tabs. But as you can imagine, I can go right here and I can say, I did it. With a big exclamation point. And now you can see that it actually went ahead and marked it through as my to-do list. It updated it. Now, what it should be doing, and it does sometimes, but you can see here, it says points earned 5 out of 24. It's stuck right now because I haven't gone back and fixed the thing. It should be updating the points earned here at the bottom as well. So then you can go through and you can say like, oops, I forgot I have a meeting in 30 minutes. I need to prep now. Okay. So if we do that, it's like, hey, got it. That's coming up really soon. We probably need to, amend our to-do list here. Well, normally it does right away. Update it. All right, so it's saying 1:30 p.m., but it must have messed up on it. When I did it the last time, it put it, and it was like, yeah, this is a high priority because it's happening in 30 minutes, right? So it understood on there. So it messed up a little bit on that one. But you can see what I mean here. You can say, like earlier, I said, I messed up and did my tonal workout. Now I'm feeling stressed about the rest of my list. Help me. Right. And so you can work back and forth with this to-do list to do that. And so what I love about this is that this is just sort of a fun way. It's like, hey, yeah, you just completed that tonal workout. That was not a high priority thing. It's like, hey, let's refocus. You got some points, but let's refocus this. You have some deep breath, take a minute to regroup. Immediate priorities. Like, we need to focus here. After the meeting, we'll tackle the SOW as it's overdue. All right, so this is just a fun way that you can gamify and work with a to-do list, have some fun with it. You can do lots of things here. You can say, hey, give me some motivational quotes to help me going. Put a motivational quote at the top. You could just hard code that right into the custom GPT. All sorts of different ways to do a fun one. This one's actually a really cool use case. So we're going to leave this one really quick and go to our final one, which is, hey, I'm a Python newbie. And so this one, I don't even have really something prepped for, but one of the new releases for Canvas is that it can write Python and run it inside of Canvas, but we can also do that inside of Custom GPT. So, okay, yeah, I want to create a program for number 3, a random motivational quote generator. Let's do that. And we'll give them a 5-star since ChatGPT is up and running. So now it's going to tell me what some of the steps are. And it's giving me some of the prompt Python that I want to do. And it's like, can you come up with a few motivational quotes? And I'm going to just say, help me out here, because I don't know. No problem. Here's a few motivational quotes we can start with. It's updating the Python for me. And after this, it should be pulling this into Canvas. And I'm surprised it didn't pull it into Canvas already. Once we're ready, move the next step. I'm just gonna say I'm ready. Maybe it's the next step here. And this should be pulling it into, yeah, here it goes into Canvas. I was gonna say, it's a little late in getting it. So it should have really probably gone a step earlier than that, but that's okay. So now we have the random quote generator. It's writing the Python. And it's like, okay, here we go. This code is ready to go. You can now run it. So let's go ahead and run it and see if it works. Here's your motivational quote. The harder you work for something, the greater you feel when you achieve it. So right away, we got a starting point. If I was trying to learn Python, this is a great, easy, like super simple little coding program for me to understand indents and things like that. But I could go as far as saying, like earlier when I was messing around with this, I was like, give me YouTube links, give me examples, to do it. And it's like, yeah, okay, let's run that. It even ran into a code. And as they showed it in the example, it'll come up here and say like, oh, I ran into an error. It'll give you the suggested fix. You just say fix it and then you run again. So it's like a light form. I mean, what? Claude has been doing this, but I don't know if it had the ability to run. Did it? Does Claude have the ability to run the Python? It does. Okay. So this is sort of like what Claude was doing. But now you can run this in a custom GPT and you can create your own little, hey, Python helper based on what you currently know, which is the nice part about it. Or you could do it for your team too. But, it's just an easy way to kind of get started with it. So when they run through those examples first, have a conversation about it, but then we can absolutely, as I reset, get the other tabs up to kind of show, hey, great, I see what you did there, Brian, but how did you do it? Where did it go into the prompting? And we can look at one of the examples of that as well.
So I think it was really helpful to see, because we know that ChatGPT, it feels like I wanna find a way to say this, but we know that ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini, all sort of are less helpful when their systems are stressed, right? So I'm not surprised that sometimes the canvas wasn't launched and that you have to ask for the canvas, because I feel like that happens sometimes when they're trying to, like Claude tells you, everyone's in concise mode now. There are no elaborated answers, right? And so it's helpful to go through and see what you need to do with that.
Yep.
And you can just ask for the canvas and move forward. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought I was about to on that Python one have to ask for Canvas to open, but it looks to me that it probably just needed to be generated a little earlier. I think what it was doing, and it's not wrong, it's just the custom GPT was like, it was showing me the code in more of a helpful tone, which is, to be fair, kind of the way that custom GPT was supposed to be helpful, not just do it for me, but teach me along
Right.
the way. So I think it was showing that, and then it was deciding, look, I think this is where we need to switch over and actually start running things. So not technically wrong. I was just thinking, ooh, this is seeming later in the process. So that's something we could fix though immediately in the prompting. No problem at all.
Nice.
What else? Have we got any other feedback on it before, I mean, obviously I can share the other screens and
I'm
show what we did.
I mean, overall, I think those are fantastic examples, for everybody's everyday use. I think all all of those examples are gonna be really great, especially if, for the Python one, if you wanna get into a little bit of the coding sphere, because that's been very popular recently with tools like Replit and Bolt and, Cursor and things like that. It's like, "Oh, well, let's try our no code hand at it." It's not there, by the way, but you can get there, and definitely as an educational tool for self edification and things like that. So I really like that. And I can see everybody using the to do list, especially in voice mode. When you mentioned the voice mode part, I was like, "Yep, that will make me use it." I'm a terrible typer, so voice mode has always been a godsend for me. So and how quickly do you think you could get any one of those up and running, just to give a framework for people who want to like make their own or try their hand at it?
Um, each one of them probably took me less than 10 minutes to create, but I have experience doing this. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I'm just saying like I am used to doing this. And so there's certain things that I know I'm going to have to build out. However, I will say this, you do not have to write code, prompting from scratch. If you don't know how to do this, just go to 4.0, open up a new prompt, like not a custom GPT, just regular old chat GPT, and be like, I would like to create a custom GPT that achieves 1, 2, 3, and 4 things. Help me write a prompt that's going to open Canvas at the right time. And I can tell you when that's going to be. So this is just you having a conversation. You can do this in voice mode too, by the way. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I want to create. Now you can do this from the create side of when you create a custom GPT. My suggestion would be though, don't do that. Don't actually just work in a regular old ChatGPT prompt with maybe voice mode if you want to. Work it out. Work it out back and forth with your partner, your AI partner, about what it is you want to achieve. ChatGPT will actually write the prompt for you good enough to get you started, and then you can always iterate on it. Or if you want to get fancy, you could take it over to Claude and use the Anthropic console, and it will improve the prompt for you to a high level, a really reasonably high level. And then you can work on it from there if you want to. But you can certainly iterate on it. Also, very meta, you can create a custom GPT to help you write custom GPT prompts. And so that's doable as well. So they're not hard. They're just writing it. To me, it's no different than trying to write an essay in school or something like that. It has its pieces and its parts, and it has its intros and it has its outros, and it has the meat in the middle of the sandwich as they teach the kids, and stuff like that. And you just gotta work your way through it. And by the way, there's no one right way to do this. Beth writes differently than I did, but we both came from the same school and started at the same place. And prompting has evolved. What I learned to do is when I was teaching the prompt course with Beth over a year ago now, is not the same way I prompt today. But that's because the language models have gotten smarter. And so what I used to have to break down into 5, 6, 7 steps, the model is now smart enough to go, I see where you're going with this, and I will stop in between these steps. But I don't have to put like a hard break in the prompt that says, do not move forward. And you used to have to do that. You don't have to anymore. So it is getting easier. The prompts are actually getting less complex, and they're able to handle more complex situations. So they're definitely getting more efficient along the way. And I know, Beth, you've talked about that as well with, your style of prompting, and we all have our ways of doing it.
So Justin asked in the comments that just to verify that Canvas doesn't seem to be available on the mobile app. I actually just tried to open a Canvas on the mobile app, and as I posted in chat, it just gave me a nice photo of a blank framed canvas. So I'm gonna say, yeah. Not only does it not can you not do it, it doesn't even have it as context. Like that can't possibly be what you want.
It just wouldn't work. I mean, I'm sure there's some way to make that work on mobile, but really it is a left and right screen type thing. And I would find it, unless you just wanted the canvas side of it and you were going to do all your inline edits on canvas, I see that. Uh, but it's really not, I wouldn't say the value of this
Yeah.
is in that. I would say the desktop version, but I haven't used this in desktop yet. So I don't know if it's comparable or not. I have Windows, so I'm not really using the desktop as much.
Yeah, it's gonna be the exact same thing because the Windows version right now is essentially a wrapper.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
So it should look the same then. I haven't done it, but that sounds right that it should just look the same on it.
Show us the back end.
Yeah, let's look at that. Let's look at what do you think? Email writer, it's to doable, or the Python noob? Which one do you want me to open?
Like usually doable.
To doable.
We'll writer first. It's fine, and then we'll do doable. I mean,
That's the one I want to use like right now is the to doable because I just want to be able to say I have a billion things to do. Order them in terms of what you think will take the least amount of time or what's the highest priority or ask me what the highest priority is going to be.
and then you do me just because you're talking about using the voice mode, you do have to come back out of voice mode. So basically, you use voice mode to be able to quickly just, blah 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 into it, but you don't want to stay in voice mode because you don't really want Sky or Breeze to be trying to run that custom GPT for you. It'll be weird, and you're not going to see the canvas. So you have to like end the conversation, That's the only maybe slightly weird thing about it.
It becomes more voice notes as opposed to voice conversation.
And exactly right, because like I would say all of that in there. I could have just said everything I wanted to do on my to-do list, and then I just hit end conversation. But that just means that it says you ended the voice message, and it's got all of the transcript in there to keep running the custom GPT. So it works either way. I used it earlier. We won't get into, prompting 101 here, but you can see some obvious things in here, from what is it called to some of the context. What are some of our objectives of this prompt? Here's some of our instructions. And you can see this is where it's working through what we wanted it to do, along with some examples along the way, so that we have an understanding of like how we're going to work with Sarah here. And then you can see right here, switch to canvas. So I'll switch to canvas in the example.
You've
Okay.
just gone through the 3 tasks. What you've formatted it in is Markdown. That's what those hashtags look like. Okay, and now you're on task 3. Go ahead.
Correct. And this is exactly what's happening for the user. Task 1 is we grab the data. Task 2 is that we had a conversation with ChatGPT about, is this the right data? Are we good to move it? And also, who do you want to move forward with? There's a lot of names on this list. And we said Sarah when we did our user. And then after that, there's like some starting points, like what kind of email did we want to write? That's right here. Like, what are some ways that we might want to write an email? And we could expand on that if we had like 6 other options, right? That wouldn't matter. And then after that, that's a natural place where you go, it sounds like we're ready to start writing. And that's when we want Canvas to open. So you can see that switch to Canvas here. And then in here, in the explanation, and this is a nice little tip. When you're doing your explaining and you're putting it in quotes, you're basically forcing ChatGPT to say that. Not forcing, but it's a good way to do it. And when ChatGPT says that, well, that becomes something that is now in the history of the chat. So you're actually getting ChatGPT to say, I'll switch to Canvas. That's a good thing. You wanted to do that. I'm not saying it's necessary, but it's a great way to kind of force the issue inside a prompt. And so even in the steps, open Canvas for drafting. So 3 different places. And if I'm not mistaken, even up in the objectives, we also have it talking about opening Canvas. So we've hit this from 6 different locations. We also, though, don't forget, we need to turn on Canvas down here in capabilities.
Yeah.
So you have to have both. Now, could I just turn on Canvas down here in capabilities and make no mention of it here in the prompting? Yes, but I can't guarantee when it would happen or if it would happen at the spot I want it to happen to. And that's key. You're the controller here. You're deciding the fate of the user through this process. And so I want to determine for the user to give them the best user experience when I want Canvas to open. And it's really that simple. There's nothing fancy in the prompting or anything like that. We are simply telling it to switch over to Canvas. You prompt user in Canvas. Here's the initial draft, so on and so forth. We're refining the email. You're going to see more references to Canvas along the way. Basically, we've taken out any of the ambiguity inside prompting. And one of the first tenets of prompting is be specific, be clear about your intentions. Do not leave things open to interpretation when you're writing prompting. You will get interpretations. You'll get creativity in there. And so if you want to work against that, be very specific with your examples about what great looks like on the outside of it. And then we have our tasks, our A/B variations, and that's where this particular task ends. If we look at it's to doable, it'd be this one. Sorry, Ben.
So what you were talking about was no problem. Was the difference between writing a custom GPT for yourself, where you might not put as much instruction in it, in terms of like offer this to the user because you're the user. But when you're writing it for somebody else, that is an amazing example. And that's a ton of what Brian does. So yes.
Yeah, it is. And so that's exactly right. If these are internally facing, if they're even for your team, you can get away with some really like, you can shortchange it. Like my team knows I don't have to be polite or pretty to them or like I don't have to like fluff them. Like, you know what I mean? Like you just like, they're going to go in, they know exactly how to use a GPT because most likely they've used it 20 times before and they're just trying to get to the answers, right? So it's a much more streamlined result. Conversely, if it is forward facing, if this is a publicly facing, I want my goal as the creator is to create an amazing user experience. And that means I need to hold their hand. If at any point the user goes, wait, what should I do next? That's a failure on me as the prompter. And so that's something you want to go back and iterate on. So yes, the simple things like I'm ready to begin or I need help. I do that a lot of times. I need help with this. And if I do that, that's simply a document on the back end that has the instructions. And it will feed those instructions back to the user that says, "Hey, no problem. This is what you should do next." So yes, Beth, it's really, really important to obviously decide where this GPT is going to live and what its intended purpose is. If it's for you or your team of 5 or something, don't worry about security protocol. I mean, just do it, right? Write what you got to do and make it do the thing you want to do. If it's forward facing, yeah, you should definitely be a little bit more cognizant of that user experience. So don't have to get crazy with this because it's going to be a lot of the same. In our workflows, we have it asking for Canvas. Let's see, we have our task 1, our task 2. It's talking about breaking things down into high, medium, low priorities. Remember, we had examples of that. Transition to Canvas for the to-do list management. And that's where Canvas is going to open up. This is where I need to go in and make sure that it has a better understanding of updating remember you saw it did not update the master points in there. And so that's something I would have to go back in here and just get clear about and say, hey, when you strike through, that's exactly when you need to go to this thing. I may even need to make it its own subtask that has nothing to do with user involvement. And it's its own task that basically says, when this happens, you do this. You take the point value from the strike through. If it's a high priority, it's 5 points. You add that to the total and you update in Canvas the total points that's at the bottom of the whatever, right? And then I would give an example of that. If the points were 5 out of 14 and I completed a high priority item, they're now 10 out of 14. And so the intended result would say total point value 10 out of 14. And I would give an example of doing that. That's it. Really straightforward. It's not, look, there's a lot in here, but it's a lot of the same stuff. Every task is set up the same way. Explain it. What are the steps? What's an example output? Next task. Explain it. What are the steps? What's an example output? And then this is what it should ultimately look like. And then I like to do this. Not everybody feels like they need to do this. I like some final instructions for the GPT, just because as far as I know, prompting still has a recency bias, which means that the last thing it reads is the first thing that's going to look at, or the last thing you write is the first thing it's going to look at. To my knowledge, that has not changed. And so I like to remind a custom GPT at the very end to say, this is what's important. This is your overarching rules and goals. Focus here, pay attention here, whatever. This is what you're trying to achieve. And so I like to put that in as final instructions in there.
Nice.
And of course, the Python Newbie would look exactly the same, by the way. We don't need to look at that one.
Nice. And as to the recency bias, that was something that Andy brought. Well, we learned in the prompting course, but also
You should copy that.
Andy brought Andy brought the research paper that said you can write the instructions twice and it does it better. Right? Like you can literally just double stuff and I don't know, maybe it takes it as important. I tend to have a first thing that I double at the end for the same reason so that it gets that emphasis.
Yeah, and I'll just to add on that. If these instructions don't fit in this context window, which often happens, my instructions go longer than the provided context window, which means they're moving. It's a safer way too, by the way, to put your instructions in a uploaded document. It's annoying as hell to update, but it's the safer way to do it.
Safer meaning it can't be hacked.
Yeah, I still put in security protocols into the prompting to ensure that it will not read out any of the documents. It shouldn't anyway, but I still add things to it. There's some trade-offs to that. Anyway, I won't get into it. Like the instructions in this context window work better. Once you move them to a document, you're going to start running into trouble, but you can do bigger prompting. So my point, what I was going to say to that is if I do that and I put my prompting in a side document in an uploaded file, then to your point, Beth, I will repeat the instructions in the context window. It's the only thing that's there. It's like 7 lines. But basically what it's saying is, what happens if I say I'm ready to begin? What happens if I say I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do? And what do I do and so what you're saying is like when the user says I'm ready to begin, go research and analyze the document, start at task 1.
Right.
And
go to ready to begin.txt or go to instructions. Yeah.
Exactly. Point them directly to the file and the line in the file, which is why Markdown is a really great way to do that, because it's really easy for ChatGPT to go in there and look and break things up and go, oh, task one, that's where he wants me to focus right now. But it's tricky. It's tricky.
So there's a question about, so normally when you're working with custom GPTs, you can add another custom GPT and bring it to the conversation. Can you do that with Canvas? Because there was a little bit of disagreement in what I was reading with some people on Reddit talking about whether you could add it or not. And it definitely seemed like when they opened this up, it was functional, but maybe not entirely functional. So it may be that you can add it now. I don't know.
I'm trying right now. So what I'm doing is I'm just going back to the it's to doable that I had, and I'm calling the email writer, which it's very weird because it has nothing to do with this.
Maybe one of your list items is having to write a sales email.
Make my 3 medium priority list items into an
Research.
email I can send the estimates. All right, let's see what happens. So I called the other custom GPT in that it's to doable.
So when you're doing it not with a canvas, you see like you see that you're talking to the new name of the custom GPT. Like you have a visual indicator that you are having that conversation. Jimmy, you are muted.
Yeah.
Can we see this process?
Yeah, but it worked. It's weird, but it worked and pulled up in a new part of the canvas. So let me just
Oh, that is awesome.
let's find out what window this is.
And the reason that I asked and in that context is that another way of dealing with really long prompts is to split them up into multiple custom GPTs if you can invite them to the conversation. That is fantastic.
Yeah, you can. This is a totally dumb example because it's we're writing emails off of that. But you can see here, make my 3 medium priority items into an email I can send. It did in fact pull in the other custom GPT. And it says, I've drafted an email based on your medium priority items, emphasizing streamlining workflows and project management. It's saved in Canvas for easy reviews. And so that's right here. And I would imagine if we just want to get back to the to-do list, we just click back up here to bring the to-do list back up. Or we can switch back over to the other custom GPT and work on that canvas. So it's not like this one replaced or appended the other one. They're both here as like pages, but the only way I know to do that, nope, that's copy. The only way I would know to do that is to go back to where you initially created the first canvas. And then you would work on that. And then you would come back down here and switch over to your new custom GPT. So again, poor example because you probably would never use these two together. But to your point, Beth, sure, you could write your to-do list, then say, I want to further brainstorm how I'm going to get to-do list number 1 done, and then have created a brainstorming custom GPT that just goes off on a tangent on just that one item and helps you get through it so you can get it off your to-do list. You would go back to the initial canvas and say, done.
Okay.
Yeah. So you could work it that way.
So it's a little yes and a little no. So you can't invite another custom GPT to edit the first custom GPT's canvas, but you could copy the first custom GPT's canvas and work on it with a second custom GPT.
Yeah, it looks like, I think, yes, it will pull information from that conversation to make the next one run in Canvas. But it's a little weird because like it should have asked me for who are we trying to draft this to, right? Like it kind of jumped over that and put it right in Canvas. But again, that might have more to do with how these were set up than the fact that they would or wouldn't work.
Right. Cool. Well, this has been incredibly helpful. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah. This is what I geek out on. This is fun for me. And so like this is because I get so excited about what custom GPTs can do, and Canvas really does. I mean, I think you saw 3 different examples of it. Canvas really does add a lot of punch to custom GPTs. And so I'm glad we did this show because I wouldn't want that to be like missed, as like, oh, so what? It's like, no, actually, there's some value here. What it does is it makes you think from the beginning about what's the intended purpose of a custom GPT and then deciding whether Canvas plays a role in that. Now, we didn't even get into the already baked in editing features of Canvas because we would have gone on and it would have been a training video more than anything else. But don't forget, in the bottom right corner, you have that little pencil icon. And so anything I was creating in Canvas, whether it was part of the designed tasks of a custom GPT, I could have said, made this a high school level. I could have said, polish it up. I could have said, give me more example. Like those are all baked in editing tools. And so I could have totally stopped working with the custom GPT side, made all sorts of edits on the canvas, and then immediately on the left-hand side, continued my process. And it would have had no issue with that because it's making the live updates to that document. And that's the biggest deal. Prior to this at the custom GPT, you would have had to been doing all of this with revisions inside the same chat thread. And it totally different experience. Very confusing. What was my last draft? What's my last update? So this really does make a big difference, at least to me.
And don't forget, if you sign up for the newsletter this Sunday, you'll get the back-end information and access to these custom GPTs.
Yeah, I'll share the for better or worse. I mean, they're in the current state that they're in, but if you want to play around with them, and I can probably share in the newsletter, I'll share the prompting as well. If people want to start from some starter prompting and create their own or jump off from where I was or whatever, it's better than a blank page. So if you need help with the prompting, I'll help with that in the newsletter as well.
And we're talking about doing some workshops in the end of the year into 2025, and some of those will be on custom GPTs because we have an expert on staff. We have yes. I'm going to stop there. Hey, everybody. We are coming back at 1 o'clock today, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, for the next drop of OpenAI's shipments, 12 days of OpenAI.
Today's what, day 6? 5?
Day 6.
6? Almost halfway. Well, after yesterday's PR Apple statement, hopefully today will be a little more fun. I felt bad for you, Jimmy, when I watched it after the fact. I was like, man, Jimmy just got back and this is what he gets for his first day.
Oh yeah. I'm hoping that this was just their warm up so that I could get really jazzed for day 6. It'll be Sora 2.0 already, you know.
Yeah, come back and find out with the rest of us. I won't be here today for that one, but join the rest of the crew, whoever can be here, to learn along with us. Because I watched yesterday's as my internet was getting updated in the house, and I was laughing at Carl's reaction. Immediately. So I think it's more fun to watch us. I mean, it'll just be partial, but I'm thinking it's more fun to watch us do it because you're getting, I think, what's a real reaction to it. And, I think Carl and you and Beth kind of calling it out immediately.
We're like, what? What? Yeah, no, but that was like, what happened?
Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I watched it and I enjoyed it. So I highly recommend anybody else coming back because I think it's fun to see what a natural reaction would be to whatever the drop is, So anyway, that's what's going on. That's it, guys. I hope that was a helpful, much more of a tutorial kind of show today, but sign up for that newsletter, thedailyishow.com, and I will reveal all on Sunday, 8 a.m. But you have to sign up before then.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Oh.